My name is Addie. I should actually start with that just in case we don't know each other. And, this is a lifetime that is very different from any other lifetimes on planet Earth. I'm sure that you have your own memories of why you are here and where you have been and what brought you here. For me, the memories go very deep, very far to the beginning of actually creation of life on planet Earth. And so the information that I have is, and actually you will not need your video, I just forgot to mention that. And so for me, the information that I share, it's information that is part of my being. And also every being that has ever been created in this cosmos has different relationship to different sources. And I call it the channels that run through us. And it's not that we channel, it's just that it's our family. And so for me, the origin that maybe is still in our blood, in our DNA, takes me back to the creation of all life, creation of the first kind of humanity on planet Earth, which we would call Mu, but also to other galactic places where we were able to view the evolution of planet Earth from a distance, and then to know that we needed to be here now. And I think that's why many of you are here now, because we were called into service. And so whatever skills we had, we have them now here to be of service. So for the service work that we do and you do in your life, it is important that we do what we came here to do, that we remember what we came here to do. For some of us, this was something that was easy to remember because we remembered as soon as we were born and we were not allowed to forget. And for others, we go through different processes of awakening. But whatever it is that we signed up to do here now, we are doing it. So for me, I signed up for different levels of service, but one of the missions, and we obviously sign up for several missions if we are capable of doing those. One of the missions that I signed up for was the restoration of the ancient planetary grid of planet Earth. And the other service I signed up for would be that I will be kind of traveling out of body. And when I'm out of body, I will be awakening people and just kind of going to those who are ready to pop. That's the way that I see it. So I would go usually at night when we can go into the, ethers, and we see which being is ready to wake up. And I mean, wake up fully, not just a little bit, but just really full on awakening. And so that's why I do these calls. I do these calls without a video because it was my mission to do these calls as a transmission of frequency that works through all of us while we listen. And again, this is not a frequency that is in the voice necessarily. It is more like a frequency that is like a magnetic wave that runs through us when we gather. And so as we are here today, this frequency will be running through us. I'm recording this as well, so it will be a video. And we'll just be as a team awakening together to more and more service. I like to start my calls with an Om, and that is because I've been working with several beings in this cosmic creation, but the major one that has been really the number one visitor in my world is what I would call Divine Mother in many of her forms. She first came to me in the really full-blown body where I would be, standing in a bathroom and suddenly this being appears next to me and I can see her as the Green Tara. And so I learned a lot from the Green Tara, and then she was morphing into more of her forms. One of them would be the Rainbow Serpent of Creation, or even the Adi Shakti, and many different goddesses really, because she is, the ultimate divine feminine. But she also introduced me to what I would call Lady Gaia, or Gaia, or the soul of the earth herself. And so I was able to meet with these beings face to face, communicate with them. And when I met with Gaia, I met with her actually in the earth. I met with her underground in what I would call the inner earth, or maybe even the hollow earth, since they are two different levels. But she was the one who explained to me how Om is not just some kind of, yogi chant. And when we spoke, she said, every time you use Om, you are reconnecting the fabric of reality, the way that is most coherent and balanced and harmonious. And then she showed me the entire fabric of our reality as quantum field, and it is made of rainbow strings. So I always say, you know, when physicists speak about the quantum field and the string theory, I definitely have seen it. The quantum field is made of these tiny, thin strings of rainbow light. And so when we, let's say, have a discordant emotion, we create discordance in this quantum field. When we say bad words or speak badly about someone or lie or do something that we would call, you know, maybe just the human word bad, to harm someone or harm any part of life, we create distortions in this quantum field. And then people can call it karma, but basically what it is, you have a quantum field around you. And because of all that we have said, done, felt, and thought, the quantum field carries all this information because we basically misused life force to create these distortions in the quantum field. Now that creates personal liability, and it creates a collective liability. And I don't want to call it karma, but it's another word for that, you know. So just to explain it from this perspective, Gaia, when I met with her in the earth, she said, well, if you chant Om as a hum, and you know, some people chant it as Om, O-M, some people chant it as A-U-M, it doesn't matter, it's a hum, it's a cosmic sound. She said the quantum strings actually reorganize themselves. And so what they do is that suddenly there is again harmony in the quantum field around you, but also the quantum field that is shared between all of us. And so since that day, I have been really passionately chanting Om. And I do recommend chanting Om in the shower because the element of water is actually incredibly magical. It is much more than what we understand it to be. And again, this is a very large cosmic being of water. She is really like our cosmic mother in many ways. And we can communicate with her and use her body of water, which is the body that she is made of, to actually create change in this world. So I would call that white magic. Anytime you speak to water, you chant to water, and then you take the water and put the water back into the earth or wherever you want it, you know, to do your white magic, then this water will actually create an incredibly powerful shift in reality. And so I would like to start with 3 Oms for those reasons, to clear not only your quantum field, my quantum field, but actually the collective Gaia quantum field. And so it is quite a bit of us here, really, when you think about it. It doesn't take too many. And we can create this beautiful vibration in the quantum field that will go around the world, and it will create a shift. So let's just do 3 Oms. Okay, thank you for shifting this amazing quantum field of planet Earth together. The reason why we are here really on this planet at the moment in this lifetime is because we came to assist with what we can, you know, understand as planetary ascension. What planetary ascension really is is that our Mother Earth is shifting really in her own fabric of reality. So the reality here used to be constructed in this like a very contracted, tight manner. And then she, just like the serpent, is shedding her skin, and she's putting on a multi-dimensional skin that is much more expanded and also much lighter and etheric. Yes, and I'm recording this, so I definitely post it on YouTube. And so we came to assist with that. For me, this journey goes really, really far back, and that goes to the creation of life on planet Earth. So when this planet was created and we came to assist with this creation, I would call us rainbow beings of, etheric light, but also elemental light. And this is the combination that we had in us, to be etheric and to be elemental. In a way, it would mean that we were angels of the element of water. We came here with the element of water, and she is the one that we would call the rainbow serpent of creation. So originally, this was all like a fantasy kind of land, and we would be creating and dreaming using our imagination, which is the highest gift. All right. So we were using our imagination and our amazing gift to dream life into being. This is what all beings do in all of creation. All beings in creation use their imagination and creativity to create more of what we would call life. And so that's what we were doing. At the beginning of all times, we were super connected to two different sources. One would be the mother that we considered to be the water and the earth. And the other source that we were deeply connected to would be what we would call spirit. So we didn't need any gods in between. We only had those two connections, the mother in a way and the father in a way. So it would be the divine masculine, divine feminine, perfect balance. Our bodies were very different originally from what we have right now. They were in their full divine blueprint. That means that the body itself did not need really anything except for having a full-blown connection to the mother and a full-blown connection to the what we would call again father. And again, father, I don't like using that word, but you know what I mean. So we would have the spirit and then the mother. And so the body itself of all these beings was completely sustained and nourished by these two forces of life. Now, this is really important. We were very innocent, very loving. Our Earth, the entire Earth, was a planet of love. And so when you take this planet and you have these beautiful beings at the beginning of all things in the Mu, that now we would still find the energy in Australia, in Tahiti, in Hawaii. So these beings were just beings of love, amazing beings, and we were one of those. And we were very deeply connected to water. We still had a lot to do with the element of water. So some of us would actually even be kind of water beings, or would be able to be sustained by water and then also live on land. But again, it sounds like fantasy. It's a long time ago, and a lot actually happened in between. So at some point, and I don't know everything about everything, and I always want to say this is all just my story, my perspective. This is how I see it. It doesn't really mean much, except for I'd like to share it because it might be useful to us. Is that at one point, these other beings were allowed to come to planet Earth, and they were what I would say the opposite of love. And so when these other beings came, they kind of started to take advantage of the beings of love. And as they spread their unconscious behaviors and unconscious ways, it actually became kind of toxic here on planet Earth. At that point, we had the end of Lemuria for a reason. It was just, we couldn't sustain this like unconscious energy. And so that was the end of Lemuria. And then we started Atlantis. Atlantis, I personally actually only remember one, I would say, lifetime at the end of Atlantis, and I was not a human being. We were more like a crew that was sent to planet Earth at the end of Atlantis when we could see what happened. What happened in Atlantis is that beings disconnected not only from each other, because there was the big separation between the conscious beings and unconscious beings, but actually I think all of it might be a big divine experiment, and I cannot tell you if that's true or not, but let's have our minds open that it's possible. And so we had conscious beings and unconscious beings constantly present on planet Earth. So you could call it like the children of light and children of darkness. But again, it could be that we all belong to the same team eventually. We'll see how it all plays out. But what happened is that the separation between the two was actually very stark. And so beings actually, the unconscious beings were spreading the unconsciousness much more than the conscious beings of love were able to do. And so what happened is that life force was being misused so much more that crews were sent down here to planet Earth from other places, and I was part of the crew that was supposed to change things, but actually they failed. We failed. And so as life force was being misused, what actually happened, something kind of dramatic happened. The beings that we would now call Atlanteans, and even before Lemurians or beings from Mu, they disconnected from this absolutely natural flow of Mother Nature, this rainbow light that was coming into them, and then the spirit, another source of rainbow light that was also coming into them. Now, in that moment, what happens? When you disconnect beings from life force, they actually no longer are sustained by life force. So when beings are no longer sustained by life force, they can easily be kind of enslaved by whoever, who can give them civilization, tell them they need to make money, they need to earn stuff, they need to pay stuff, they need to do this and that 9 to 5, and then they need to do this and that to really survive. Now that's what happened to us. So Atlantis kind of ended for many different reasons, but the number one reason really that I always experience myself is the misuse of life force. So since everything is always energy, life force is always energy. When we take the energy and use it correctly so that we have more peace and more beauty and more joy and more love, then we are creating something very beautiful for all that is. But if we start taking this life force and let's say we actually abuse someone or something, any part of life, then we turn the energy into something that will be stuck in this quantum field and we will have to revisit. So again, that's what we would call karma. So the revisiting became kind of the loop that we were stuck in. We had to revisit, and because we were making so much mess. What happened in Atlantis was very interesting. The beings in Mu didn't have what we would call sexual lust and sexual energy because everything was running on life force, and life force was considered to be, what today we would call sexual energy. So all the beings were constantly feeling this amazing bliss. They were constantly ecstatic, and it had nothing to do with sex. Creation was actually not happening through what we would call sex, but it was happening through this imagination and creation with light. And really, it was very advanced. But then, as we kept losing this connection to Mother Nature, which was that divine feminine, and we were losing this connection to the spirit, which was the divine masculine, and we also had so much interference from all sorts of places in this creation. Then we ended up in these bodies. We ended up being very limited. Our DNA was very limited. Our body itself actually changed so much and it was diminished. So there was definitely, I wouldn't call it advancement. And so our history doesn't really give us at all any idea of what really happened in the past. What we know to be our history is definitely not the real history of humankind. And so the story of the cavemen and all of that, that's not really at all our true history. And we will all find out what the true history is. So we ended up in these bodies that suddenly really needed stuff. We needed food, we needed shelter, we needed clothing, we needed, all these things. And so you go from this fully sustained, amazing being of light and love in a body that is elemental and angelic in nature, having a really great time on planet Earth. And we go to something that we have today, really. At the end of Atlantis, we sent some crews here who was supposed to make a difference. But as soon as we arrived, it was like, I call it the gas chamber, where you get poisoned as well. And so once we arrived, we got trapped and also really failed the mission. So it was decided by the spirit, let's call it that the only way out was to again send the elements we have the 5 elements, and that this time the destruction would happen again with a big flood that would come, like where we were, for example, it came from the Indian Ocean, and it just, took us out of the body instantaneously, and we had to go back to spirit to make a promise that this time, hopefully, we will not fail. And so this is kind of the evolutionary timeline we had as humanity. But what happened, of course, because the entire planetary network, the protective shield of the Earth, the magnetic field of the Earth was actually completely damaged through these floods. These floods that we had at the end of Lemuria and at the end of Atlantis, not only did it take, humans out, which was basically the goal, but also it damaged and distorted all the power points that we had. It distorted this amazing protective shield that the Earth had. She used to have a rainbow body that was plugging her into the collective web of love. Now, all cosmic web, especially for us, what's important is the galactic web, right, that we plug into. We got so hurt through these floods that actually our planetary web could not connect us to this galactic web. That's why we stopped seeing our true galactic, origin. We got disconnected from being able to interact with other beings from the galaxy because we kind of fell offline. So we were offline, and we have been offline until now. So being offline actually has obviously led to what we have today, which is a civilization that is in such amnesia. But as you know, we are waking up. We are waking up for several reasons. It is always exposure to light. When beings, and again, this all could be by design, So I don't want to blame some like Anunnaki beings or whatever, Draco beings or Grace. It doesn't even matter how we ended up here. I just want to say the way that we ended up here was through this devolution and the disconnect from the galactic web and the cosmic web of love, which is really important. The way that this galactic, but also the cosmic web works, and this is again from my experience, is that each one of us is like a node in a web. So imagine a very large web or a spider web, and each one of us being one little node, like a meeting place. So if you are the meeting place of all these energies, then you are constantly receiving love light from source, and you are constantly emanating love light into the web. So that's how creation works. So when we get disconnected, we ended up here on this planet, and so many of us have tried, and we've been trying for 12,000 years at least, which is since Atlantis went underwater. And we knew what we had to do. We knew we first had to liberate our own body. This was really important, the liberation of the physical aspect of who we are, because the body was blocked. Now, this is, to me, the biggest revelation piece right now as we go through this ascension process. The body itself is actually like a tuning technology. It can attune to your soul. It can attune to the spirit. It can attune to source. So the body itself is almost like, let's call it a vortex of energy through which we can rise higher to the higher dimensions of our own being. The body is not an obstacle, and the body is not a burden. And it is not that a soul is trapped in the body. That actually was what I would call misinformation. So actually the body itself is the greatest gift that we could have in this reality, because we are anchored here through the body into this physical world. So the only way really, as you know, because even when we die, we go out of body, we can actually do this when we are in the body. This is something where I think that the human enslavement really took place is through the manipulation of the body to be diminished as a tool. And so when you think about how easy it is to control someone's body through the air, water, food, energy, then it is the only way actually to capture a being to be in a diminished state. You cannot diminish someone's soul. You cannot diminish someone's spirit. So let's say we had these unconscious beings who came from elsewhere during Mu time, and maybe more beings came, as we know, through our history, and they kind of started to play this game with humankind. So they could not take our souls. They could not take our spirit. They could not actually take the connection to source from us. But what they could do is very simple: to somehow interfere with this amazing multidimensional technology called the human body. And that's exactly what happened. So now imagine this with me. And this is all, information I received from our cosmic mother. So I feel confident sharing it. I'm not a conspiracist in any way, and I have to say that. But I want to say that the human body is the most manipulated part of us, because it's the only part that can be manipulated. If you diminish human DNA, if you diminish human cells, if you diminish human nervous system, if you diminish human brain, you will get a being that has no idea who they are. And we think that's pretty normal, who we are today, but it is far from normal. It is actually far from something else. It is far from our true nature. It is far from being natural. Now, we often hear about Kundalini, and we can describe her as the rainbow serpent in the body. I want to speak about that, and this is part of my research that I did. I did my master's in somatic psychology, and I was really fascinated with this human potential within us. What if we actually gave our nervous system and our brain this restructuring through life force? What if we suddenly upgraded nervous system and the brain to perceive reality as it really is? What would happen? And then I realized through my own yogic practices and working with Yogananda and different, like Kundalini yoga, Kriya yoga, or even Sadhguru's yoga. So I realized that we actually have it all inside us. But for some reason, it is dormant. Like, why is it dormant? Because I remember how in Mu, it didn't used to be dormant. So how did we fall asleep? That is the big question. So within our body is something really amazing. Now, if you are a yogi, or if you know about any of these traditions, even Tai Chi, Qigong, then you know that for thousands of years, all these teachers were telling us something. In the body, if you use it correctly, you can suddenly quiet the mind, and maybe there are like locks inside of us, right? In the yogic tradition, they call it locks, and you can unlock this flow, or you can awaken your Kundalini and have these multidimensional experiences. Well, to be honest with you, I think it is not that they were telling us to evolve spiritually. I think they were telling us that something somewhere blocked us from our own fullness when we used to be gods, and that the only way to unblock it was to realize that it is all in the body. It is not in the soul, it is in the body. Now, to me, this is the best part about Ascension. It is all in our really hands, it is in our arms, it is in our legs, it is in our spine, it is in our brain. So if we want to unlock ourselves right now and disconnect from this, what I would call slavery, then we can do it. The first thing that is really important, that when you think about it, how for thousands of years, it really was the body that was misused the most. And especially recently, right, we had so many different ways of really manipulating the body when it comes to the food that most people eat, the drinks that people drink, including things like alcohol. And I'm not saying it as someone who I used to really enjoy red wine, for example, but I realized every time you have a little bit of alcohol, it takes you to like this diminished kind of state, even if you don't drink too much. There is something energetic about it. And I'm sure that's about the same about, cigarettes and dirty water, dirty air, toxic food, who knows what, even eating animals. All of it is part of how do we keep this body in a diminished state so that the life force cannot wake up, so that this being cannot find their own soul, so that this being doesn't realize that they actually are completely divine in a body and that they are gods. So it's a really interesting thing to think about for each one of us. I think we can go really deep into this. And that, of course, includes, our whole healthcare system and the medications that people were given, and why does disease exist? All these things, like, wow, this was really hard on the body. And of course, once you play with human DNA, you have all sorts of possibilities. So Ascension is really one thing right now. All of Ascension is very simple. I don't want to get lost in this, like, how we have been controlled, but I want to say all of Ascension is a very simple process. All it is, to put it simply, is that we are becoming natural again. We are returning to our nature again. We are reconnecting to nature as our cosmic mother, and she is a cosmic mother. We are becoming rainbow beings once again, and we will be liberated from within through our nervous system and through our brain, which right now the brain, it works like psycho. You have the right hemisphere, you have the left hemisphere. They don't behave the same. And then the thoughts that we have are also not natural. The mind as we know it seems to be normal, but it is not natural. And actually normal is not a good word. The mind is pretty psycho. But we are returning to our wholeness within. Number one, this wholeness has to come from within. It cannot actually even happen unless our brain and nervous system is upgraded. And so that's why we have so much help coming from all these galactic places where we have energy coming in that is changing our nervous system. We had the big purifier on planet Earth the last, since 2019, and this is purifying our cells. It is all about restoring the body. That's number one, because it is cosmic mother nature who is actually responsible for this ascension process. And cosmic mother nature, you can call her our divine mother. You can call her the rainbow spirit of creation. You can call her, whatever names you want, but she is the one who came back to humanity. She is the one that these bodies belong to. Our body belongs to, we can call it cosmic mother nature, but let's be a little bit mystical about this. Cosmic mother nature is a being of immense proportions. We would think like, okay, so have we seen her? Have we seen her face? When I met, let's say the Green Tara, it's not like you meet someone who looks human. These beings are so cosmic that they are not even, like we cannot really comprehend unless our nervous system can handle it. So when I started to learn from the Green Tara, I realized, yes, there is this cosmic being. She's like immense and we are inside her, and this planet was sick, but she's going to come back and heal everything. And that's Ascension. She is healing this planet by her presence, by her expansion. And so again, just to say a little bit about the things that we will be seeing that are changing. Because of this diminishment of things on planet Earth, let's say that there were beings who had an ill intent. And those are the beings that came during Mu period and then more and more. So let's say they had an ill intent. And so their goal would be to disconnect us as much as possible from nature, because nature is the oracle. Nature is the one who has the answers here. If you disconnect human beings from their own bodies and then disconnect them from nature, they will have no real guidance. It is only cosmic mother nature who can really give us the answers that we have been seeking. And that's, instead it was replaced with religions and some imaginary God, but that was not where the answers are. The answers are in the cosmic mother nature. That means the answer is within us, but actually in our body is the answer. If only we could unblock our nervous system, which let's say the Kundalini Yoga was trying to do, Kriya Yoga was hoping to do, Sadhguru does it during his transmissions. There are so many different techniques. It is all about unblocking the spinal cord so that this rainbow serpent can be fully present and actually be the one who is our consciousness. When the rainbow serpent within the body rises, that would be our true nature. That's why you have the ancient Egyptians, when they came from Atlantis, they still have the cobra coming out of the forehead. That is the rainbow serpent of creation coming out of the body through the third eye and actually giving us, that means the being was still perceiving reality through the pineal gland. So it's the pineal gland is the single eye that can only perceive reality as is. With the two hemispheres that we have right now and the diminished asleep, our nervous system is asleep. That's the whole point. We are asleep because the nervous system is asleep. In this world, if you look at it again, just with your own, investigative eyes, you will find that our nervous system by design was diminished and then kept in either too much nervousness or completely suppressed. And part of that, of course, you would have different drugs or alcohol again, or even meat. Meat is like the ultimate nervousness. So if most people would be eating meat, of course, because we were made to believe that was normal, it is not natural, because the true story of humanity is not that we are hunter and gatherers. That's not who we are. We are these rainbow beings who came to move, who are fully connected, fully online, fully plugged into spirit, fully plugged into the earth, and fully sustained. We were the dreamers of realities. So Ascension is the return of cosmic Mother Nature. We will be now plugging into her more and more and more, and you will notice your own body plugging into her flow once again. She will be calling you from within. You will feel your cells awakening. You will feel your nervous system awakening. And when the nervous system awakens, you will feel alive again, fully alive. I mean, we going from something that was so old, so we got used to this diminished state. And the way that she always tells me is, when you get used to something for millions of years, it becomes normal. And then it's really hard to question it because everybody before us for millions of years was doing the same thing. So you have to be a real pioneer to question something normal and to realize it was not natural. And so that's what she's doing right now. She is here on planet Earth now. She is filling up the earth. She really came in fully this September. She really has been coming in little by little, but she was looking for people like us that she could work with and work through. She works through everyone because she is the mother here. Anyone whose consciousness will open up to her, she will work through them. Whatever capacity she can get, she will do that. The body now is the key. This is probably why all the mystics, they try to do something with the body because they knew the key is the body. It is not that we need to starve it. No, it is not that we need to overindulge in this, physical reality. We just need to be able to hear the body again as part of cosmic Mother Nature. The body itself is a deva. It's a devic being. That means divine feminine being. The body has amazing, amazing intelligence. So whatever question you have, your body has the answer if we plug into the natural flow once again. So we are now going through the liberation process of the body. Once the liberation of the body is complete, we will completely perceive a whole new reality and realize how actually what we have perceived as real was not all that real. It is all down to the nervous system. It is all down to the brain. And the goal really right now, if we want to be really leading the way, would be activating this single eye. The ability to see through the third eye. That's really where it is right now. That is when the body becomes filled with light. That is when we really become these rainbow beings again. So I think even our spirituality didn't really always know so well that the goal was not really like enlightenment. It's the goal of all things. No, enlightenment is just beginning. It's just returning to where we've always been. It is just going back to the state that was our natural state. And that is the rainbow being of light. So once we step back into, enlightenment, which is our own natural state of being, then from there, we again get to participate in the galactic creation, and the universal creation and the cosmic creation. We just are kind of like crawling out of a hole. And once we get out, everybody gets the rainbow body, and we will call that the new earth. The new earth is a place that I have visited several times and I speak about it often, but basically I just want to say how it operates, because that's a good kind of goal for us to have, and to have it in our consciousness. The new earth is a dimension when nature absolutely dominates all things. Humans are kind of secondary within her. They are fully integrated into her. There is absolutely zero degradation. If humans want to do anything on the new earth, they have to integrate it in harmony into nature. Nature is really the one who rules the new earth. And she tells me that we can call it the natural world order. What happens to the human being once they reconnect the nervous system, they also ignite the energetic heart once again. And so the energetic heart is a really important portal. And I think that all of this hopefully will be easy for us once we start receiving more and more of these galactic and solar energies that will be activating the nervous system, because it's a big deal. You know, in the past, we had to become yogis and meditate for 50 years to be able to achieve this kind of consciousness. But now it should be very easy with all the help that we are receiving and with what's happening inside our bodies as well. Cosmic Mother Nature will be shaking off all the nonsense that was placed inside of us. She will shake off also, you know, let's call it the decoding of our DNA, and she will just restore herself. But we can allow her by not drinking alcohol, by not smoking, by not, watching porn, because all of it, like, it actually diminishes the body itself, but also by not eating meat, because again, it diminishes the body. So whatever we can do now, whatever is in our power, that we have enough inspiration within us to do it. I say, don't do it for yourself. Do it for this big mission. If we make it about ourselves, we have to use our, will. But if we say, you know what, I came here for something really big. I came here for this rescue mission of humanity, of the whole earth, then whether I have a glass of wine or not, is no longer about me. But it is about, hang on a second, I really want to be part of this, I want to be the solution. I don't want to be the problem. And so you have to think of it that all that we do always taps into some kind of channels that are like scalar technology on planet Earth. So let's say I want to have really like bad intent, ill intent, and I want to control people here. So I'm going to say, okay, I'm going to create this kind of channel of very low vibration. And every time people do this or think this, they will tap into my channel, and I will be just trapping people, and they will think it's them, but actually it's not. So this is pretty much how it works, is that, let's say I'm going to use the example with alcohol, because everybody, I think, in this world have tasted it. Whenever you have a little bit of alcohol, it's like you change a channel. It's like watching TV, and you were watching a great show. It was this amazing celestial divine show. You were connected to your I am presence, to your divine self. You drink some alcohol and suddenly the channel switched. And maybe we didn't even notice it. And suddenly we are watching a really, really different channel without even noticing it. And we have all tapped into it. So this is how it works with everything that was created to actually diminish the body. So it's like going always to a lower channel instead of being the channel of the divine self. So now this is the easiest thing we can do, is really take care of the body and just really learn how to communicate with her as she is the divine feminine Deva. So our ascension process pretty much is all about clearing our own quantum field as it is energy, and about clearing the quantum field of humanity as it is energy, and clearing the density of the earth as much as possible, so that she doesn't have to use the elements again like she had to do several times before. The Hopi people, they are part of my tradition and part of my family. I had a past life that was really important to me with the Hopi people. And so I got instructions from my Hopi grandmother for this lifetime. And they know that this world is actually programmed to kind of, let's call it, transmute through fire. And it doesn't have to be physical fire. It can be internal fire. And so Cosmic Mother Nature told me that if we work with her, it can be our internal fire. It's the fire of the Kundalini. It's the fire of spirit within us that can transmute this world. And we can also use the gift of the violet flame, the violet fire. I don't know if everyone has used it or not, but of course we have different frequencies of light, and each frequency has different kind of purpose. When we use purple or violet, it's like using a hand sanitizer, and you are getting rid of all, the germs and stuff. So when we have discordant energies on planet Earth and we work with the violet flame, then it is just like the sanitizer for energies. And so using the violet fire, it's very simple, and we can just say, I am presence, I am my divine self, I am this amazing fractal within the body of the rainbow serpent, I am one in the body of this cosmic mother, and I am a cell in her body. If I clean up my cell that I am, then I have helped healing her body and restoring her wholeness. So we can think about it in many different ways. But if one cell tells the other cell and another cell, hey, we can get healthy, then the body of the cosmic mother heals as it is healing. And so it is a pretty amazing mission we can take on personally and collectively. So think about your energetics. We all probably have miscreated some energy in this lifetime, others. It just happened. Being part of this system, it was really hard to see through it, but now we are able to see through it. And so definitely being able to just liberate the simplest part of us, which is the body, and raise our body frequency so that we can build the rainbow bridge to our soul, and from there to our spirit. And we can do that very easily. And these days probably have noticed that maybe breathing has becoming a little different. And yes, it has become different. We have shifted our planet Earth on the 5th of May this year to a different time and space. Well, it's actually a different space. So we changed the coordinates of the Earth. Oh, I like that. That Om has the frequency of the violet flame. So the Earth is no longer where she used to be. This might not be really understandable for many of us, but we have participated in this movement because, everybody again came with different skills. I love to know what skills you came here with, what mission that you are working on. So for me, it has been working a lot on this planetary grid. The planetary grid, just so that you know, is the reason why we see reality so distorted, because it was so damaged through the floods. We no longer can perceive reality as it is. It's impossible as long as we are in this broken planetary grid. So the goal of many of us was to come here and to fix it, and actually to even replace it. And so that's what we have been doing. On the 5th of May, we kind of moved planet Earth to a whole new space so that we can have a new stargate and new light can come into planet Earth. Sounds like science fiction, but it's not. What it did is that we are now able to actually go through a stargate to a whole nother dimension that I would call maybe the divine reality. Some people can call it Zion, New Jerusalem, whatever you want to call it. It is there. And we can experience what it's like to be part of wholeness, part of oneness, and we can really charge up. I recommend going at night, especially, and spending some time in these dimensions. Now, it also means that when we breathe now, we breathe different type of energy. We have so much more life force flowing through us. And with that life force, we can now make a decision that no longer will we, create these dents in the quantum field, but instead we can use the life force to create the new Earth. I had a meeting with Divine Mother a while ago where she was trying to explain to me how creation happens in a way that we don't actually miscreate. And she said here on planet Earth, we got caught up in this good and bad, good and bad, good and bad, sick and healthy and beautiful and ugly and rich and poor. And she said, that's not how creation really works. So the way she explained it is that no matter what we see in this world, we cannot pay attention to it. And I know that's really hard. She said, whatever it is you see on the outside that is happening, as the situations, the systems, the politics, the game, she said, don't pay attention to it. It's there, and when you see it, just have a creative impulse. Now, this is really important. So let's say we see manipulation, and we would go into, let's say, frustration or anger or rage. And then she says, once you see it, ignore it. Go into your heart and then create from the heart without anything else, no distraction. Just create from the heart what it is that you love. So I love freedom. I love thriving. I love well-being for all, all of that. So we can create from the heart. Now, so I know that many of you have the book of the 33 codes, and I wanted to mention that as well before we conclude here. I'm going to share a screen with you here. So as I travel to the new earth, which I'm sure that you do too, and sometimes we know these things and sometimes we don't, but I always think that, we all do a lot of work in a dream time, and some people remember and know and some people don't. And sometimes we do it super consciously, kind of we slip out of the body and go on a mission, and sometimes it just seems like a dream. So it depends on how we approach this mission and how skilled we have become at doing this work at night consciously. But I think all of us are doing this work anyway. So like last night, I was, doing this work on planet Earth, and there were thousands of us. Thousands of us were actually placing crystals inside the Earth, physical crystals. And so immediately my human thinks, oh no, so today, like when I wake up, I need to go and I need to put crystal in the earth. And then I realized, like, why would I do that? My human is like behind, like the being does the job at night. And so we still have this like separation within us between the human part and the divine I am, and so it's pretty amazing. So I wanted to tell you a little bit, if you don't have the book. So I went to the New Earth on January 8th this year, 2021, and I met with a council of very high beings who oversee this process of planetary ascension. And because the problem on planet Earth that we had was the distortion of this planetary web, the network around the Earth, and the loss of the rainbow light, then these beings said, well, what we're going to do is we're going to do something really simple and really powerful. And so they said, we need a book that will be super like hardcover, hard paper, like really solid. And it's going to be called the 33 codes, because our reality is coded to actually change with 33 codes. So even the ancient people, they knew 33 is a code of transformation. That's, we have the story of Jesus, but within us, we have 33 vertebrae. And, the number 33 is a very mystical code. It is the code of the Chakana. It is the code of our I am presence. And I'm not going to go into the detail about that. But the being said, okay, if we can have a physical book that will be super hard and it will be really solid, and we will put all the energy from source, which will be the rainbow light, and it will be a vortex. Every book will be a vortex. It will not be a book. Nobody needs to read it. That's not the important part, but we just need something that we can put around the world. And so we sat together with these beings for 33 days, every single day, and created this book. And it has, coded words. And again, the words themselves are not important, but it has amazing information about creation. But I was told exactly how to do this. And then on the 33rd day, as you can see on the cover, this rainbow serpent dragon appeared in the sky. This is a real picture. And she came with like faces above her and below her. So my husband took the picture actually. And so it was like a confirmation. We are done. 33 codes are here. So now, run with it. So the 33 codes started to be distributed around the world in August, on the 11th of August. And now they are being distributed around the world, and you can get a copy as well from our website, thegreentara.guru. The thing is that this book, it's a mission. It's a really simple mission, and it's changing the world. And I say it only because I know who these beings are. And I say it because I was part of the creation and I was there on New Earth, when this was discussed. It was genius. This planet is actually absolutely genius. So what was happening on planet Earth was that we didn't have enough vortices of cosmic Mother Nature, this divine feminine energy on planet Earth. It was really hard for people to hold this energy, this pure love source energy, because we were so diminished and our hearts actually are not fully open. They will be, but they are not there yet. So it was decided that if we can have like a physical object that will be completely charged with pure source rainbow light, and we distribute these objects around planet Earth, it is kind of like putting crystals into the Earth. It is the same principle. Then these vortices of rainbow source light can actually dissolve the old planetary grid completely. That will actually switch off the reality as we know it. And then they can switch on the new planetary grid. So it's like switching from one TV channel again to another TV channel. So we have been distributing this book all around the world. We have a lot of them in Australia, North America, Europe. We even have some in Africa. And so these vortices have been working since August 11th. So August 11th is when the elemental queendom, I like to call them queendom and not kingdom. The elemental queendom told us that the world was going to change on August 11th. And that's when the books arrived. And that's when the first books were distributed around the world. That day, we sent out 33 copies. And so, the elemental queendom has seen this and they see it. Since that day, we have had this new consciousness spreading around the world. And, we have a lot of rainbow light that is being seen everywhere. But it is just the rainbow serpent. She's doing this job. And so she is the one emanating from this book. And she always tells me, this is the only photo of her as the Divine Mother. But also once you see the book and the picture, I'll show you the other picture. It is also a picture of what we would call Divine Father. So many of us here on this call are people who have been working together every day to do a lot of planetary work. And so, we have been traveling to other dimensions together, and we have been traveling to a dimension that is called Zion. And in Zion, you can have encounters with Father God. So we have Mother, Father, God. And so here in the picture, you see the rainbow serpent with her eyes and her nose. And she is almost like a dragon, actually, in the picture. And then above her, we have the picture, the profile of our cosmic Father. And so the mystery is very big. Ascension is happening. It is not complete. And I was told when I was on the New Earth that Ascension is not complete. We will have about 4 or 5 very big energetic shifts on planet Earth. And this book was created really, and I'm not here to sell the book, I just wanted to give you an update on what's happening. But this book is changing the grid. The grid is really what needs to dissolve. These beings who kept humanity kind of in delusion, and that's why the mystics always said, we live in an illusion, but the illusion was kept actually together by the grid. So whoever controlled the grid of planet Earth, which already was distorted, controlled the channel of the reality that we perceive as real. Once that channel switches off, and we are doing that, right? We are switching it off. Then the new channel of the new Earth, which is really the channel that is now kept within the inner Earth and the hollow Earth, will switch on. That's why we have beautiful, societies that already have this, like in Telos, people go and visit Mount Shasta and they are taken into the city of Telos. It's just one example of how this reality already exists in such a beautiful way here on planet Earth, but not visible to all. And so what we are doing is making this reality visible to all. So that's pretty much it from me today. If you have any questions, let me know. But basically the key right now to keep it simple is just follow nature, listen to nature, and know that your body is an amazing multi-dimensional technology. And that when we work with the body, we actually can have access to 12 dimensions. And I mentioned that before on one of our calls, but for me, I had some body work done last year in 2020. And it was a combination of body work and Reiki energy. And then that activated the body so much that suddenly I was able to perceive 12 dimensions, you know. So it's pretty incredible what the body can do. The book does not need to be in every country. She's creating a quantum field, and every day it's expanding more and more. And we have so many wonderful people like you guys around the world who are doing great things with the book, travel with the book, take the book to different portals, and really activate this new ancient grid. Now, I just want to say this grid is ancient, and yet it will be the new. It is the grid that was created originally in the moon. And I received this task originally from the ancient grandmothers who told me that we need to activate this ancient grid. And I wasn't quite sure what they were talking about until I got to the new earth, and I realized that it is the ancient grid that holds all that we need to be fully free. Freedom is absolutely the key. And that is our true enlightenment, is when we are liberated beings of rainbow light who are free. And then we start from there, you know. So thank you guys. Have a beautiful day. I hope this was helpful. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you. Bye-bye.